What's up, y'all? Today I'm reviewing the DXRacer Craft Custom Gaming Chair. It's the special edition Hello Human SKU, which has sort of this different cat imagery. It's pink, and ultimately when this came across my email, at first I'm like, well, I'm not too interested in doing a chair review because I already have a chair. I have the Secret Labs Omega series from a few years ago, and those who have been following have known that as my gaming chair for a while. But also, if you've been following my content for the last month, you may have noticed this switch over to this pink chair. I really want to spend a significant amount of time with it to really get to know it as part of my setup and see what is it like to use day to day and how comfortable do I think it holds up to the previous product I owned. And this craft series from DXRacer has a bunch of different designs. They have like this sort of bunny design. They have a shout to the Thinker, the art statue, the Thinker. They have a very, very 4th of July styled American design and a couple other ones. But the one that really stood out to me that made me interested in doing this review is the Hello Human chair. Again, this chair retails for $479, and it's because it's pink and also has a bunch of different cat designs around it. It has like a huge like blue cat bursting to the back. It says Hello Human, and on the front side, which is, you know, the backing of the chair essentially, it also has like a little hand with a cat wrapped around it, and it says hello. I just think the whole look of it is really cool, so I'm like, hey, if this chair can hold up in terms of being a good, well-made product that feels comfortable, it's just an added bonus that it also looks really great and kind of fits the aesthetic of my setup a little bit better. So we're gonna kick things off by actually doing the unboxing and the build. I have it sped up. I'm gonna talk through how hard or easy I thought it was to put together. We'll take a closer look at the product itself and how it actually looks in real life and not just these product photos. And then ultimately I'll tell you what I think about the chair and whether or not I'm gonna keep it in my setup. Plus I have a little bit of anecdotal info from having my brother, his fiance, my boyfriend all take a seat, take a look at it, and tell me what they think ultimately of the product as well. So let's get into it. And now for the unboxing and the ultimate build of this chair. You see me taking out all the major pieces, how messy my apartment's getting with all this styrofoam, and all the tools come into like one convenient little box, so it's laid out really nicely. They have a giant instruction kind of sheet that shows all the illustrations, and it's pretty straightforward. You see me putting the wheels in, making that bottom part of everything, and then it's just sliding the back onto the seat. This is the part that took me the longest and the only part that I lightly struggled with, just because it wasn't quite feeling correct, and I was wondering, am I using the right screws for this? So I did a lot of like screwing and unscrewing and rescrewing until I finally kind of had everything set exactly how I wanted it. One thing I really liked about this aspect of it, though, is it has this really nice cover that snaps on super easily. I'm going to show y'all a close-up of that in a second. Usually they have like plastic slips. That's pretty common in a chair like this, but the fact that it was magnetized I thought was just a really nice touch. It has a really satisfying little snap to it, and it made it so easy to place that cover onto it and to know that you were doing it correctly. So I really liked that part of the build. That was probably my favorite aspect of putting this chair together. Finally, you see me putting the essentially the mechanism that attaches the chair to the wheels, and it's super simple, just 4 screws in the corners here. You see me tightening that up. They give you all the tools you need. The only thing I questioned here was the levers. I'm like, am I sliding these levers in correctly? I looked at the manual a couple times and it seemed fine for the most part. Here's the thing that I needed help with. I had to bring Isaiah in here, shout out to Isaiah, just to get the chair onto there because I just could not do it myself. It was a little too heavy. And then ultimately I'm, you know, putting the pillow on and sitting in the chair and hoping for all dear life that I made it correctly. And look, turns out that I did. Shout out to me. And now that it's built, let's take a closer look. You see me here pointing to what I feel like is a little bit of the sort of base material kind of poking through the fabric in a way and kind of making a little bit of an awkward indent. Here's me zooming in on the sort of stitching look, that texture to the cat that's on the back, and it looks super good. It's incredibly like high quality. You do see me pass though like the slightest bit of additional like fabric poking out, or rather like loose stitching almost. But on the whole, that's like one of the only like slight imperfections I've seen in this. Again, you see me kind of poking a little bit at the material and really looking, are there any creases, and you know, what is this going to look like long term? I do see a little bit of creasing. I do think that's kind of like par for the course with a chair like this, but it was a little bit of a negative for me because this chair is something that lives and dies on the aesthetic and the execution of that aesthetic. So spinning it around, again, we have the headrest, the craft sort of pillow that you can have for additional support. There is the hello stitching, and there's a hand coming down with a cat wrapped around it for the back of the chair, like where your back is pressed against. And probably one of my favorite details of this chair, the white stitching swirl pattern that kind of runs along the side and on the seat of the chair. It also has the DXRacer branding in the front, which is kind of nice. It's a little bit more subtle, like less in your face. And of course, in the background is my cat Bruce. Shout out to Bruce. But what I really like is the width of this chair. I can sit cross-legged very easily in this chair. You can move the arms, you know, out into the side, which is pretty typical, but you can also slide the arms out further. Again, really emphasizing that width that you can create with that chair. Again, I've been using this chair for about a month, and during that time I've done a bunch of podcasts and videos and streams. I've definitely had people I work with ask me about the chair, compliment me on the chair because it does have such a nice look to it with the color. And I also added this as my intermission screen on Twitch. This is something that I implemented super recently. I think it was just yesterday from the time I was recording, and people were really into it because it has that distinct look, and I think it fits the look of my setup really well. And if you're looking for ways to kind of like integrate it with your content, that is a little fun nod, because again, some of the coolest aspects of the chair are not really super visible when you're making content, so it was nice to be able to show that off a little bit on stream. And now for some final thoughts on this chair. Ultimately, I do recommend this chair. I really like this chair, and I think it's comparable, if not in some ways better than the previous chairs I've owned, specifically Secret Labs, because that was the last one that I did have. And yeah, I've had it for a month and I feel like it's really comfortable. I really like it. I think it fits in well with the setup. My biggest complaint, again, which I touched on a little bit when we were doing kind of those close-up shots, is that some of the, like, it has a little bit of like the material underneath sort of seeping through. I think it's especially noticeable if you go back in the intro of this video, when I do that turn, you can really see like this very harsh line where the material's kind of like pressed through the fabric almost, which doesn't, you know, look that great. Ultimately, like, how often are you even looking at the back of the chair? But also the back of the chair is like the coolest design part of the chair. So I do want to shout that out as a bit of a negative. But then also when I was looking closer at other chairs, I think all of them kind of have some of those struggles. It also might be something that's a little bit more noticeable because it is a lighter colored fabric, and I think that kind of has it stand out a little bit more in a negative way. But yeah, I really love having this. This is now going to be the chair of choice that I have. My only light gripe compared to, again, my previous one with Secret Labs is it doesn't come with a back pillow at all, which I've just stopped using the back pillow in general, which might actually be better for my posture anyway. And then I never personally like using the headrests on any of these chairs. But yeah, it's really comfortable. You can sit in a bunch of different ways. I think that extra bit of spacing really helps add to the comfort of it. So I think if you're in the market and you have the budget of that, you know, $450 to $500 plus, the DXRacer Craft custom gaming chair is definitely one that you want to look at. And again, there are other designs. It really comes down to whether any of those designs speak to you. For me, the Hello Human one was absolutely perfect. It was like the best looking one that I've seen in quite some time. But for other people, that might not be the case. So I think if you're looking for something that has a little bit more pizzazz to it in terms of aesthetic, this is definitely a brand you want to take a look at. Other little anecdotal notes, I had my family and my household try it out, and they all also favored this chair over the other one, mostly because of the aesthetic, but also I think they did, as I mentioned, enjoy that little extra width that this chair kind of offers. And of course, it's worth noting that, you know, like, other chairs come in different sizes potentially, so it's not like this is the only way you can get that level of width, but that's something to potentially consider if you are in the market for a gaming chair. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this chair, whether or not you're interested in it, what you personally use in your gaming setup. And as usual, be sure to like, subscribe, and tap the bell, and I'll see you here next time.